Wyoming Territory. Winter, 1878. Clara Brennan found him in her barn at midnight. A stranger half dead slumped against the hay with two babies pressed to his chest. His arms had frozen around them. Even unconscious, even barely breathing, he wouldn't let go. Blood soaked through his coat. His lips were blue. But those babies were warm. Those babies were alive. And when Clara tried to take them, his eyes snapped open, wild, desperate, dangerous. "Don't," he rasped. "They'll kill you too." Before you hear what happened next, subscribe to my channel and stay until the end. Comment your city below. I want to see how far this story travels. Clara Brennan heard the barn door banging. She grabbed her rifle and was out the cabin door before her next breath. The blizzard hit her like a wall of knives. 3 days of this hell. 3 days of white death swallowing everything. The barn door swung wild in the wind. She'd secured it herself. Someone had opened it. Clara raised the rifle and pushed inside. "Who's there? Show yourself!" her mare screamed. Not a whinny. A scream. Then she saw him. A man collapsed against the hay bales. His coat was black with frozen blood. His face was gray as ash, and clutched against his chest, Clara's heart stopped. 2 babies. Tiny. Still. Wrapped in a woman's shawl. She dropped to her knees beside him. Mister, can you hear me?" Nothing. His lips were blue. His skin was ice. But those babies. Lord above, those babies were warm. He'd kept them warm with his own dying body. Clara reached for them. His hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. She jerked back, but his grip was iron. His eyes flew open gray, as storm clouds wild with fever and fear. "Don't." The word came out broken. "Don't take them. I'm trying to help. They'll kill you." His fingers dug into her skin. "They'll kill you too. They killed everyone. Everyone." Who killed everyone? But his eyes rolled back. His body went slack, his grip released. Only his arms stayed locked around those babies, even unconscious, even dying. He wouldn't let go. Clara sat back, her breath coming fast. A wounded stranger, 2 infants. A warning about killers. One of the babies moved. A tiny fist pushed out from the shawl. A small cry cut through the howling wind. And Clara Brennan, who hadn't cried in 4 years, felt tears freeze on her cheeks. "Jacob!" she screamed into the storm. "Jacob, help me!" They dragged him into the cabin. It took both of them, and even then Clara thought her back would break. The stranger was tall, broad, heavy with muscle and blood loss. "On the settee," she ordered. "Careful." Jacob grunted, lowering his end. "Who the hell is he?" "Don't know." Clara was already working at the stranger's coat, trying to free the babies. "Don't care. Help me get them loose." The man's arms had locked around the infants like a vice. Even unconscious, his body protected them. Clara had to pry his fingers open one by one. "Twins," Jacob breathed when she finally pulled them free. "Lord have mercy. Twin girls." Clara held them against her chest. They were so small, so light. Their identical faces blinked up at her with eyes too calm for what they must have endured. "Get blankets," she said. "Warm milk. Go. Miss Clara." "Now, Jacob." The old man moved faster than she'd seen in years. Clara carried the babies to her bedroom, laid them on the quilts, unwrapped them carefully. They were thin. Too thin. But clean. Someone had cared for them even while running for their lives. "Who are you?" she whispered. "Where did you come from?" The babies offered no answer, just watched her with those ancient, knowing eyes. She returned to find Jacob cutting away the stranger's shirt. "How bad?" "Bad." Jacob's voice was grim. "Gunshot wound. Left side. Old. Infected." Clara moved closer and sucked in a breath. The wound was ugly puckered flesh, red streaks spreading outward, the smell of rot just beginning. But that wasn't what stopped her. Across the man's chest, carved into the skin like a brand, was a letter. K. White scar tissue. Old. Deliberate. "What in God's name?" Jacob muttered. Clara's blood went cold. She'd heard stories. Everyone had. About the Kincaid gang. About how they marked their own. "He's one of them," she said quietly. "Was one of them." "Miss Clara, we should fetch the sheriff." "No." The word came out sharp. "Not yet. Not until I know what this is." "But if he's Kincaid? Look at him, Jacob." Clara gestured at the unconscious man. "Does this look like a man running with outlaws, or a man running from them?" Jacob said nothing, but his hand stayed near his revolver. "Get my sewing kit," Clara ordered. "And whiskey. We're going to save his life. Then we're going to get some answers." The needle pierced flesh. The stranger's body arched off the settee. A sound tore from his throat, half scream, half growl. But his eyes stayed closed. "Hold him," Clara said through gritted teeth. "Hold him still." Jacob pressed down on the man's shoulders. Trying. 15 stitches. Clara worked fast, her hands steady despite everything. She'd done this before. Cattle mostly. Once her own leg, when Thomas had no. She wouldn't think about Thomas. Not now. She tied off the thread, poured whiskey over the wound. The stranger convulsed once, then went still. Done. Jacob let out a breath. Will he live? Maybe, if the fever breaks. Clara wiped her hands. Watch him. I need to check the babies. She found them asleep in their basket, curled toward each other like they'd done this 1,000 times. 2 tiny bodies seeking warmth and comfort from each other because there was no one else. Clara sank into the rocking chair beside them. 4 years ago she'd wanted this. Wanted it more than anything. Babies of her own, a family, a future. Thomas had destroyed that dream with his fists. Twice she'd been pregnant. Twice she'd lost the child because he couldn't control his rage. And then, the night he'd come home drunk with the rifle. The night he'd said if she couldn't give him sons, she was useless. The night Clara closed her eyes tight. Some memories were best left buried. But these babies, these helpless, innocent babies, they stirred something in her chest she'd thought was dead. I won't let anyone hurt you, she whispered. I promise. He woke at dawn. Clara was dozing in the chair by the settee rifle across her lap when she heard him stir. Her eyes snapped open instantly. The stranger was watching her. Those gray eyes were clearer now. The fever had broken sometime in the night, but the wariness remained the look of a man who trusted nothing and no one. The babies. His voice was a rasp. We're safe, sleeping. He tried to sit up, gasped, fell back. Lie still, Clara ordered. You'll tear the stitches. Can't stay. He tried again, teeth gritted. Have to move. They're coming. Who's coming? Men. Bad men. He managed to prop himself on one elbow. How long was I out? All night. He cursed under his breath. Too long. We need to go. You're not going anywhere. Clara stood, keeping the rifle ready. Not until you tell me who you are and why you brought those babies to my barn in the middle of a blizzard. The stranger studied her for a long moment, calculating, deciding. Caleb, he finally said. Caleb Stone. Clara Brennan, this is my ranch. She didn't lower the rifle. Now talk. His story came out in pieces, short sentences, long pauses. The words of a man not used to explaining himself. The babies, Lily and Rose, their parents are dead. Dead how? Murdered, 3 days ago. Caleb's jaw tightened. A man named Fletcher Harmon, cattle baron up north. He wanted their land, their silver mine. When Daniel wouldn't sell, Harmon sent men. Clara's stomach turned. They killed the whole family. Everyone. Daniel, Sarah, the ranch hands, the grandmother. Caleb's voice cracked. Margaret. She was still alive when I found them. Barely. She gave me the babies. Told me to run. Run where? Copper Springs. There's a man there, Reverend Cooper. He can protect them. Copper Springs is 100 miles from here. I know. Caleb met her eyes. I know. But Daniel was my friend. The only friend I had. I made him a promise. Clara processed this. A massacre. A promise. A desperate ride through a blizzard with 2 infants. That mark on your chest, she said quietly. The K? What is it? Caleb went very still. You know what it is. I want to hear you say it. A long silence. Then, Kincaid Gang. I was one of them. A long time ago. How long? 15 years. His voice dropped. I was 16 when they killed my family. My parents. My sister. Their leader gave me a choice. Join or die. So you joined. I survived. The word came out hard. 5 years I survived. Did things I'm not proud of. Things I can never take back. He met her gaze unflinchingly. Then I got out. Helped a family they ordered me to kill. Been running ever since. Clara studied his face. Looking for lies. Finding none. And now? What are you now? A man trying to keep a promise. Caleb glanced toward the bedroom where the twins slept. Those babies are the only good thing left of Daniel McAllister. I won't let them die. Jacob appeared in the doorway. His face was pale. Miss Clara, we got trouble. What kind day riders coming up the North Road? 3 of them. Caleb was on his feet before Clara could stop him. He swayed, grabbed the settee arm, steadied himself through sheer will. How far? Half mile, moving fast. Harmon's men. Caleb reached for the revolver Jacob had left on the side table. They found us. You don't know that, Clara said. I know Harmon. I know how he works. Caleb checked the chambers. 5 rounds. He doesn't stop. He doesn't give up. And he doesn't leave witnesses. This is my land. My home. I'm not running. Then you'll die. Caleb's eyes met hers. I've seen what his men do, Clara. What they did to Daniel's family. You don't want to see it too. Clara's grip tightened on her rifle. She thought of Thomas. Of all the nights she'd spent afraid in her own home. Of the promise she'd made herself when she buried him. Never again. Jacob, she said calmly. Get the twins. Take them to the root cellar. Miss Clara. Now. The old man hesitated only a moment. Then he moved toward the bedroom. Clara turned back to Caleb. You can barely stand. I can shoot. He moved toward the window, peering through a crack in the shutters. Cover the back. I'll take the front. This isn't your fight. I brought them here. That makes it my fight. Caleb looked at her over his shoulder. Besides, you saved my life. Seems fair I return the favor. Isher. The riders came fast. Clara watched from the kitchen window as 3 men crested the hill. They rode hard despite the snow their horses lathered and steaming in the cold air. Not lawmen. Lawmen didn't ride like that. Desperate. Hungry. Hunters. Caleb Stone. The lead rider reined up 50 yards from the cabin. We know you're in there. Send out the brats, and we let you walk away. Clara's blood ran cold. They knew his name. They knew about the babies. Friend of yours, she muttered. Never seen him before. Caleb's voice was flat. But I know the type. Hired gun. Kills for money. Stone. The rider again. You got 1 minute. Then we come in, shooting. Clara steadied her rifle. Her hands weren't shaking. Strange. She'd expected them to shake. When I fire, Caleb said quietly. You take the one on the left. I'll handle the other two. You're wounded. I've been wounded before. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Besides, you stitch pretty good. Clara almost laughed. Almost. 30 seconds. Stone. Clara! Caleb's voice dropped. If this goes bad, if I go down, you take those babies and you run. Don't look back. Don't stop. Just run. I told you, I'm done running. This isn't about you anymore. His gray eyes held hers. It's about them. Those two little girls who never asked for any of this. They need someone to fight for them. I am fighting for them. Then fight smart. Caleb turned back to the window. Ready! Clara raised her rifle, sighted down the barrel, found the rider on the left. Ready. Time's up. The lead rider drew his pistol. Boys, let's... Caleb fired. The lead rider flew backward off his horse, a red bloom spreading across his chest. His pistol discharged into the air as he fell. Clara squeezed her trigger. The left rider jerked, clutched his shoulder, dropped his reins. His horse screamed and bolted. The third rider wheeled his mount, firing wild. A bullet punched through the window frame inches from Clara's head. She ducked, cycled the rifle, came up shooting. Missed. Caleb didn't miss. 2 shots. 2 hits. The third rider tumbled from his saddle and didn't move. Silence fell. Clara's ears rang. Her heart pounded so hard she could feel it in her teeth. Smoke drifted from her rifle barrel. Clear, Caleb said. He was leaning against the wall now, one hand pressed to his side. Fresh blood seeped between his fingers. Check them. You're bleeding. Just pulled a stitch. Check them. Clara moved to the door, opened it slowly. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of gunpowder and copper. The lead rider was dead. No question. The third rider, too. But the second rider, the one Clara had wounded, was crawling through the snow, leaving a red trail behind him. Clara walked toward him. Her boots crunched in the silence. Please. The man looked up at her. Young. Younger than she'd expected. Fear in his eyes. Please, ma'am. I got a wife. A baby coming. I was just doing a job. A job. Clara's voice was ice. Killing children is a job. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what we was... How many more, but... What? Clara put the rifle barrel against his forehead. How many more men did Harmon send? The man's face crumpled. 6. 6 more. Half day behind us. Quinn's leading them. Silas Quinn. Caleb had limped to the doorway. At the name his face went white. Quinn, he repeated. You know him? Clara asked. Yeah. Caleb's voice was hollow. I know him. We rode together. Back when I was Kincaid. The wounded man started babbling. Please, please just let me go. I won't say nothing. I'll ride the other way. You'll never see me. Get up. The man stared at her. I said, get up. Clara stepped back, rifle still raised. You're going to deliver a message to your Mr. Quinn. What message? Clara looked at Caleb, looked at the cabin, looked at the sky where more clouds were gathering. Tell him Caleb Stone has friends now. Tell him if he comes to this ranch he won't leave alive. She leaned closer. And tell Fletcher Harmon that Clara Brennan doesn't scare easy. He wants those babies. He'll have to come through me. They watched the wounded rider stumble toward the surviving horse, watched him haul himself into the saddle, watched him disappear over the hill. He'll tell them everything, Caleb said quietly. Where we are. How many? They'll come back with more men. I know. Then why let him go? Clara lowered the rifle. Because killing an unarmed man makes you no better than them. And because... She paused. Because I wanted Harmon to know my name. Caleb studied her for a long moment. You're either the bravest woman I've ever met, or the craziest. Maybe both. A sound from inside the cabin, a baby crying, then another. Clara's face changed, the hardness melted. Something softer, something almost vulnerable took its place. "They're hungry," she said, "and scared." "Clara." Caleb caught her arm as she turned. "What you did today, standing with me, fighting, you didn't have to." "Yes, I did." "Why?" She thought about the question, about Thomas, about the babies she'd lost, about the cold, empty years since she'd buried her husband and her secrets in the same hard ground. "Because those babies deserve better than to die in a snowdrift," she finally said. "Because you rode 3 days wounded to save children that aren't even yours. Because—" her voice caught. "Because someone should fight for them. Someone should care." "You care." "I do." The word surprised her. "God help me, I do." From the cabin the crying grew louder. 2 voices now. 2 tiny, desperate voices calling out for comfort. "We've got 6 hours," Caleb said. "Maybe less. Before Quinn gets here." "Then we'd better not waste them." Clara walked toward the cabin, toward the crying, toward the 2 small lives that had somehow become worth dying for. Caleb watched her go. And despite the blood loss and the pain and the army coming to kill them all, he smiled. 3 days ago, he'd been alone in the world. Now, he wasn't. Inside, Jacob had brought the twins up from the cellar. They lay in their basket by the fire, faces red with crying tiny fists waving in the air. Clara scooped up Lily, or was it Rose? She still couldn't tell them apart and held her close. "Shh, shh, little one. You're safe." The baby's cries softened. She rooted against Clara's chest, searching. "She's hungry," Clara said. "Jacob warmed some milk." Caleb had eased himself onto the settee, fresh blood still seeping through his bandages. His face was gray with pain, but his eyes stayed fixed on Clara and the baby. "You're good with them." "Had practice once." Clara settled into the rocking chair, adjusting the baby to feed. "A long time ago." "You have children." "No." The word came out flat, final. "I don't." Caleb heard what she didn't say. The loss, the pain, the door she'd closed and locked. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was a lifetime ago." Clara stroked the baby's head as she fed. Another woman's life. Jacob returned with the warmed milk. He handed it to Clara without a word, then turned to Caleb. "We need to move the bodies before the snow covers them." "Leave them." "Mister, leave them." Caleb's eyes were hard. "Let Quinn see what happened to his scouts. Let him know we're not running." Jacob looked at Clara. She nodded once. "You heard him. Leave them." The old man shook his head but said nothing. He'd served with Clara's father in the war, had known her since she was a girl in pigtails, had watched her become the woman she was now, hard, capable, haunted. He'd never seen her like this before, like she'd finally found something worth fighting for. "I'll check the horses," Jacob said. "Make sure we got enough ammunition." He left them alone. Clara fed first one baby, then the other. Caleb watched in silence, his breathing slowly steadying as exhaustion pulled at him. "You should sleep," Clara said without looking up. "Can't. Quinn is hours away, and you're no good to anyone if you collapse again." She met his eyes. "Sleep, Caleb. I'll keep watch." "Why? Why what? Why do you trust me?" He shifted, wincing. "You know what I was, what I did. That mark on my chest isn't a lie." Clara was quiet for a long moment. The baby in her arms had fallen asleep, milk-drunk and content. "When I was 22, she finally said, "I married a man named Thomas Brennan. Everyone said he was perfect, handsome, charming, from a good family." She paused. "They didn't know what he was like behind closed doors. Caleb said nothing, just listened. He drank. He raged. He used his fists when words weren't enough. Clara's voice stayed steady. I got pregnant twice. Lost both babies because of what he did to me. Clara, let me finish. She took a breath. 4 years ago he came home drunk. Said if I couldn't give him sons I was worthless. He went for his rifle. The fire crackled. The wind howled outside. What happened? Caleb asked quietly. I got to it first. Clara met his gaze. Sheriff ruled it an accident. Cleaning the gun while intoxicated. A bitter smile. Everyone believed it. Why wouldn't they, poor Clara? Poor widow. But it wasn't an accident. No. No shame in her voice. No regret. It wasn't. They looked at each other across the dimly lit room. Two people with blood on their hands. Two people who'd done terrible things to survive. That's why I trust you, Clara said. Because I know what it's like to be judged for your worst moments. Because I know good people sometimes do bad things when they have no other choice. Caleb's throat tightened. I'm not a good person. Neither am I. Clara stood carrying the sleeping baby to the basket. But maybe we can be better. Maybe that's all any of us can do. She settled Rose beside her sister, tucked the blanket around them, stood watching them sleep for a long moment. 6 hours, she said without turning. Get some rest. We'll need you when they come. And if I can't stop them, if there's too many... Clara turned to face him. Her amber eyes caught the firelight. Then we go down fighting, together. She picked up the rifle. Now sleep. That's an order. Caleb wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she was crazy for trusting him, wanted to explain all the reasons she should take those babies and run while she still could. Instead, he closed his eyes. And for the first time in 3 days, he slept without nightmares. The storm eased just before noon. Clara stood at the window watching the clouds thin and break. Pale winter sunlight spilled across the snow, making everything glitter like diamonds. Beautiful, deadly. The calm before the next storm. Behind her, Caleb stirred on the settee. His color was better now. The sleep had helped. How long? You were out 4 hours. Clara didn't turn from the window. Feeling better? Better enough. He sat up slowly, testing. The riders? Still where they fell. Jacob's been watching the road. Caleb moved to stand beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth of him, smell blood and sweat, and something underneath something that reminded her of pine trees and open sky. It's beautiful, he said quietly. The land here. It's mine. Clara's voice held a fierce pride. Every acre. I fought for it, bled for it. I won't give it up. No one's asking you to. Harmon will, when he realizes we're not running. She finally looked at him. Are you sure about this standing with me? I'm sure. Why? Caleb was quiet for a moment. Then, because Daniel would have done the same for me. Because those babies deserve a chance. And because... He hesitated. Because what? Because you're the first person in 15 years who looked at this. He touched his chest where the K was scarred into his skin, and didn't see a monster. Clara held his gaze. Maybe because I know what it's like to be a monster. You're not. I killed my husband Caleb, shot him through the heart, and watched him die on my kitchen floor. Her voice didn't waver. I've spent 4 years pretending to be a grieving widow, when the truth is, I've never felt freer than the day I buried him. That doesn't make you a monster. That makes you a survivor. Same thing sometimes. The babies made a sound from their basket, a soft coo, a gurgle of contentment. Both Clara and Caleb turned to look at them. They're happy, Clara murmured. Can you imagine after everything they've been through they're happy? Kids are resilient. Or maybe they just know they're safe. Clara moved to the basket, looking down at the twins. For the first time since this started, they know someone's watching over them. Caleb joined her. Lily or Rose reached up with a tiny hand. He offered his finger and she grabbed it with surprising strength. "She likes you," Clara said. "She doesn't know any better." "Children know." Clara watched the baby grip his finger. They sense things adults miss. If she trusts you, there's a reason. The moment stretched between them. Fragile, precious, a stolen breath in the middle of chaos. Then Jacob's voice shattered it. "Miss Clara Riders, a lot of them." Clara grabbed the rifle. Caleb snatched the revolver. They reached the window together. Coming over the hill spread out in a line, like cavalry, were 6 riders. 7, 8. Clara's heart sank as she kept counting. 12 men in all. And at their center, mounted on a black stallion, was a man in a long coat. Even at this distance, Clara could see the silver flash of his weapons, the confident set of his shoulders. "Quinn," Caleb said. His voice had gone cold. "Dead." "You know him." "We rode together for 3 years. He's the best tracker Kincaid ever had." Caleb's grip tightened on the revolver. "And the most dangerous man I've ever met." Clara counted ammunition. 3 rifles, 2 revolvers, maybe 60 rounds between them, against 12 armed men. "Jacob," she called. "Get the babies. Take them to the cellar. Don't come out until I tell you." The old man appeared, face grim but steady. "I can fight." "I know you can, but those babies need protecting more than we need another gun." Clara gripped his arm. "If we fall, you take them. You get them to Copper Springs. Swear it." "Miss Clara." "Swear it, Jacob." The old soldier straightened. His eyes glistened, but his voice was strong. "I swear." He gathered the twins, disappeared toward the cellar. Clara and Caleb stood alone. 12-2, Caleb said quietly. "Bad odds. I've had worse." "Liar." Clara almost smiled. "Maybe." Outside, the riders had stopped at the edge of rifle range. One of them, Quinn, Clara assumed, nudged his horse forward a few steps. "Stone!" His voice carried across the snow. "Long-time brother." Caleb moved to the door. Clara grabbed his arm. "What are you doing, babe?" "Buying time." He looked at her. "Stay inside. If shooting starts, make every shot count." "Caleb." "Trust me." He squeezed her hand once. Quick. Barely there. "Please." Then he opened the door and stepped out into the cold. Clara watched through the window, rifle ready, heart pounding. Whatever happened next would change everything. She was counting on it. Caleb stepped off the porch into the snow. His boots sank deep. His side screamed where Clara's stitches pulled. But he kept his back straight, his eyes fixed on the man in the black coat. Silas Quinn hadn't changed. Same cold smile, same dead eyes, same way of sitting a horse like he was born in the saddle. "Stone." Quinn spread his arms wide. "Look at you, still alive after all these years." "Quinn." Caleb stopped 20 feet from the porch, close enough to talk, far enough to dive for cover. "Wish I could say the same." Quinn laughed. A short, ugly sound. "Same old Caleb, always with the jokes." He nudged his horse forward a few steps. "You look like hell, brother. Someone shoot you." "Your boys, yesterday." "Ah." Quinn's smile didn't waver. "They weren't supposed to kill you, just slow you down." He glanced past Caleb toward the cabin. "Looks like they failed." "They're dead." "I noticed." Quinn's eyes swept the yard. The 2 bodies still lay where they'd fallen, half buried in fresh snow. "You always were a better shot than you let on." "I had help." "The widow." Quinn's gaze sharpened. "Clara Brennan. Interesting woman. Lost her husband 4 years back. Keeps to herself. Runs a tight ranch." He tilted his head. "Didn't figure her for the fighting type." Caleb's blood chilled. Quinn had done his homework, knew Clara's name, her history. That meant Harmon had been planning this longer than anyone realized. She's got nothing to do with this. She does now. Quinn leaned forward in his saddle. Here's how this works, Stone. You give me the babies, you give me the key, and I let you and the widow walk away. And if I don't... Quinn's smile finally faded. Then my boys burn this ranch to the ground with everyone in it. Your choice. Caleb pretended to consider. His mind raced through options. 12 men, spread out, professional. Even if he dropped Quinn right now, the others would cut him down before he reached the porch. But that wasn't the plan. The key, Caleb said slowly. What makes you think I still have it? Because Margaret gave it to you before she died. Because you're too stubborn to let it go. Quinn's eyes narrowed. Because you know what's in that safe, and you think those papers can save those brats. Maybe I hid it, along the trail. Maybe you're lying. Maybe you'll never know unless you let us go. Quinn's jaw tightened. For a moment the mask slipped. Caleb saw the killer underneath. The man who'd burned a family alive in their farmhouse because the father owed Kincaid money. I don't have time for games, Stone. Then ride away. Can't do that. Quinn straightened in his saddle. Harmon's paying too much, and besides... His smile returned colder than before. I've been wanting to finish what we started for 15 years. What we started. You don't remember. Quinn touched a scar on his neck. Thin, white, old. The night you ran when you stabbed me and left me for dead. Caleb remembered. The blood, the screaming, the desperate flight into darkness. You were going to kill that family. I was following orders. Orders to murder children. Orders are orders. Quinn's voice went flat. You broke the code, Stone. You betrayed the Brotherhood. That mark on your chest, you don't deserve it anymore. I never wanted it. Too bad. Quinn raised his hand. Behind him, his men shifted. Hands moved to weapons. Last chance, the baby's in the key. Or we take them from your corpse. Caleb took a breath. This was it. The moment everything hinged on. One condition. Quinn's hand stayed raised. I'm listening. The widow. She walks. Whatever happens to me, she walks. And leaves the babies behind. The babies stay with me. Quinn studied him, searching for the angle, the trick. Why do you care what happens to her? Because she saved my life. Caleb held Quinn's gaze. Because she's got nothing Harmon wants. Because killing her gains you nothing. A long silence stretched between them. The wind picked up swirling snow across the yard. Finally, Quinn lowered his hand. Fine. The widow walks. But you and those brats are coming with me. Agreed. Clara's voice cut through the cold. Like hell it's agreed. Caleb spun. Clara stood on the porch, rifle raised, aimed directly at Quinn's chest. Clara, don't... Shut up! Her eyes never left Quinn. You think I'm going to let you trade yourself for me? You think I'm going to walk away while they murder you and those babies? This isn't your fight. I told you before. Clara's voice was iron. I'm done running. Quinn laughed, genuinely amused this time. Well, well, the widow's got teeth. He looked at Caleb. You sure know how to pick them, Stone. Let her go, Quinn. This is between us. Was between us. Quinn's smile vanished. Now it's between all of us. He dropped his hand. Everything happened at once. Quinn's men drew. Clara fired. Caleb dove for cover. The first shot caught one of Quinn's riders in the throat. He toppled backward, dead before he hit the ground. Caleb rolled behind the water trough revolver, out firing. One shot. Two. A man screamed and fell from his horse. Return fire tore through the air. Bullets splintered the trough, punched holes in the cabin wall. Clara dropped behind the porch railing, working her rifle with deadly precision. Another rider went down, then another. Stone! Quinn's voice rose above the chaos. You can't win this. Caleb didn't answer. He was too busy surviving. A rider charged toward the porch. Clara shot him out of the saddle at 10 feet. His horse screamed and veered away. Another man circled wide trying to flank. Caleb tracked him, waited, fired. The man jerked and slumped over his horse's neck. 6 down, 6 to go, but they were adapting, spreading out, using their numbers. A bullet grazed Caleb's arm. He grunted, kept firing. Clara cried out. Caleb's heart stopped. "Clara!" "I'm fine." But her voice was strained. He risked a glance, saw blood on her shoulder, saw her still shooting. "Get inside. Not leaving you." Another rider fell, then another. 4 left, including Quinn. Caleb's revolver clicked empty. He fumbled for more rounds. His fingers were slick with blood, his own this time. A shadow fell over him. He looked up. Quinn sat on his horse directly above pistol aimed at Caleb's head. "End of the road, brother." Caleb stared into the barrel, saw his death written there. The gunshot came from behind. Quinn jerked. His eyes went wide. He looked down at the red bloom spreading across his chest. Then he looked at Clara standing on the porch with a smoking rifle. "You?" He fell. The remaining 3 riders broke, wheeled their horses, fled toward the hills. Clara fired after them, missed, cursed. Then silence fell. Caleb lay in the snow gasping. His arm throbbed, his side burned. But he was alive. Clara was at his side in seconds. "How bad?" "Flesh wound, the arm." He sat up, wincing. "You?" "Same." She pressed a hand to her shoulder. Blood seeped between her fingers, but not gushing. "Bullet went through." "You need stitches." "So do you." Clara looked at Quinn's body, at the other fallen riders scattered across her yard. "Is he dead?" Caleb crawled to Quinn, checked for a pulse. Nothing. "He's dead." Clara exhaled. Her whole body seemed to deflate. "Then it's over." "No." Caleb's voice was grim. "It's just starting." She looked at him. "What do you mean?" "Those 3 that ran. They'll report back to Harmon. Tell him what happened here." Caleb struggled to his feet. "He'll send more men, better men, and he'll come himself this time." "How do you know?" "Because that's what I would do." Caleb met her eyes. Quinn was his best. If his best couldn't get the job done, Harmon will want to finish it personally. Clara absorbed this. Her face was pale beneath the blood and dirt, but her jaw was set. "Then we'd better be ready." Jacob emerged from the cabin, revolver in hand. His eyes swept the carnage with a soldier's assessment. "Miss Clara, you hurt?" "I'll live. Check on Caleb." "I'm fine." "You're bleeding." "I said I'm fine." Jacob looked between them, at the bodies, at the blood, at the determination written on both their faces. "What now?" Clara turned to Caleb. "You tell me. This is your war." Caleb thought. The pain in his arm and side made it hard to focus, but the answer was clear. "We can't stay here. Harmon knows this location now. He'll come with an army." "I'm not leaving my ranch." "You don't have a choice." Caleb gripped her good arm. "Those babies in your cellar, they're worth more than this land, more than anything Harmon owns. If we stay, we die, and they die with us." Clara's jaw worked. He could see the war inside her. The ranch was everything she had, everything she'd fought for. But those babies. "Where?" she finally asked. "Copper Springs, like I planned from the start." Caleb released her arm. "Reverend Cooper can protect us. He has connections, resources, legal standing." "That's still 80 miles. "I know." "With 2 babies, in winter, with Harmon's men hunting us." "I know." Clara closed her eyes, took a breath, opened them again. "Jacob, hitch up the wagon, load provisions for a week, water, blankets, ammunition." She looked at Caleb. "We leave in an hour." "Miss Clara." "An hour, Jacob." Her voice brooked no argument. The twins stay in the cellar until we're ready. I don't want them seeing this." She gestured at the bodies littering her yard. Jacob nodded and moved toward the barn. Clara turned to Caleb. "Can you ride? Can you?" I asked first. "I can ride." He hoped it was true. "But you took a bullet." "Went clean through. I've had worse. Worse than getting shot." Clara's eyes flickered with something old and dark. "You'd be surprised." She walked toward the cabin. Caleb followed. Inside, she went straight to a cabinet in the corner, opened it, pulled out a bottle of whiskey and a sewing kit. "Sit," she ordered. "The bullet went through. I don't need—" I said sit. Caleb sat. Clara poured whiskey over his arm wound. He hissed through his teeth but didn't cry out. She worked quickly, cleaning, stitching, bandaging. "Now me," she said when she finished. "Clara, I can't reach my own shoulder, Caleb, and I'm not asking Jacob to undress me." Caleb's face heated despite everything. "Fine." She turned her back, unbuttoned her blouse enough to expose the wound. The bullet had gone through the meat of her shoulder, missing bone and artery by inches. Lucky, incredibly lucky. Caleb cleaned the wound as gently as he could. She didn't make a sound. "You're tough," he said quietly. "Had to be." "Because of Thomas." She stiffened. "You remembered." "Hard to forget." He threaded the needle. "This is going to hurt." "I know." He stitched. She stayed silent. Only the slight tremor in her hands betrayed the pain. "When this is over," Caleb said as he worked, "what will you do?" "I don't know." Her voice was soft. "I never thought past tomorrow, not since Thomas died. Maybe it's time to start. Maybe." She was quiet for a moment. "Those babies, Lily and Rose, what happens to them in Copper Springs?" "Reverend Cooper becomes their guardian. He has the legal papers. He'll raise them, protect them." "And you? What about me? Where will you go after?" Caleb tied off the last stitch. Sat back. "I don't know either." Clara turned to face him, holding her blouse closed. Their eyes met. "You could stay," she said. "After, if you wanted." Caleb's heart clenched. "Clara, I'm not proposing." A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "Just offering a place, if you need one." The words hung between them, full of possibility, full of danger. "I'm a wanted man," Caleb said. "The Kincaid mark. The Bridgeport case. There's a price on my head in 3 territories. I don't care about your past." "You should." "Why?" Clara stepped closer. "Because you made mistakes. Because you survived the only way you could." She touched his face, gently, briefly. "We all have ghosts, Caleb. The question is whether we let them bury us or we keep fighting." Caleb couldn't speak, couldn't think. No one had touched him like that in 15 years, with tenderness, with understanding. "We should go," he managed finally, "before Harmon regroups." Clara nodded. The moment passed, but something had shifted between them, something neither was ready to name. Jacob appeared in the doorway. "Wagons ready, provisions loaded. But we got a problem." "What kind?" "The road north is blocked. Snowslide took out the bridge at Miller's Creek." Clara cursed. "What about the old mining trail? Passable, but longer. Adds 2 days to the journey." 2 days. 2 more days exposed. Vulnerable. Caleb's mind worked through options. What about east, through the canyon? "Suicide in winter," Jacob said flatly. "Ice makes the footing treacherous. One wrong step, and the wagon goes over the edge. Then the mining trail it is." Clara buttoned her blouse, reached for her coat. 2 extra days won't kill us. Harmon might. Then we'd better move fast." She grabbed her rifle. "Jacob, get the twins. Wrap them warm. We're leaving." The old man hesitated. "Miss Clara, you sure about this?" That mining trail? I've seen men freeze to death up there. I'm sure. And him. Jacob jerked his chin at Caleb. You trust him to get us through. Clara looked at Caleb, held his gaze for a long moment. Yes, she said. I trust him. Jacob studied them both. Whatever he saw satisfied him. I'll get the babies. He left. Clara began gathering final supplies. Clara. Caleb caught her arm. What Jacob said. About trusting me. You barely know me. I know enough. You know I was Kincaid. You know I killed people. I know you carried 2 babies through a blizzard with a bullet in your side. Clara's eyes blazed. I know you offered to trade your life for mine. I know you could have run a dozen times and you stayed. That doesn't make me trustworthy. No. She stepped closer. It makes you good. Under all the scars and the guilt and the running, you're good, Caleb Stone, whether you believe it or not. Caleb opened his mouth, closed it. No one had called him good in 15 years either. We need to go, Clara said softly. But when this is over, we're going to talk. Really talk. About everything. 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 She squeezed his hand once. Let go. Now help me with these supplies. They worked in silence after that, loading the last of the ammunition, checking the wagon, securing the canvas cover against the wind. Jacob emerged from the cellar with the twins bundled in his arms. They were awake but quiet, watching everything with those ancient knowing eyes. Clara took them, held them close. For just a moment, her hard exterior cracked. Something soft and desperate showed through. We're going on a trip, she whispered to them. It might be scary sometimes, but I won't let anything hurt you. I promise. Lily or Rose reached up and touched Clara's face with a tiny hand. Clara's eyes glistened. She blinked rapidly and turned toward the wagon. Let's go. They climbed aboard. Jacob took the reins. Caleb rode shotgun rifle ready. Clara sat in the back with the twins' pistol in her lap. The wagon lurched forward. Clara looked back at her ranch, at the cabin she'd built with her own hands, at the graves of her dreams and her demons. She didn't cry. She'd used up her tears long ago, but something in her chest ached. I'll come back, she whispered. Somehow, I'll come back. The wagon crested the hill. Willow Creek Ranch disappeared behind them. Ahead lay 80 miles of wilderness. Snow. Ice. Harmon's men. And somewhere at the end, maybe salvation. Clara pulled the twins closer and didn't look back again. The mining trail was worse than Jacob had warned. Narrow. Treacherous. Ice covering every surface. The wagon wheels slipped and slid. The horses snorted with fear at every step. Easy, Jacob murmured. Easy girls. Caleb scanned the ridgeline above them. Perfect ambush country. If Harmon had men waiting, they'd never see them coming. How much further to the first shelter? 4 hours, maybe 5. Jacob's jaw was tight. There's an old mining cabin at the pass, abandoned, but it'll keep the wind off. 4 hours. In this cold, with 2 babies. Caleb glanced back at Clara. She had the twins pressed against her chest, wrapped in every blanket they had. Her lips were blue. Her hands shook. But her eyes were alert, watching, ready. You holding up? He asked. Don't worry about me. Her teeth chattered. Worry about them. I'm worrying about all of us. One of the twins started crying, thin, weak, the kind of cry that meant real distress. She's cold, Clara said. Her voice cracked. Caleb, she's too cold. He didn't hesitate, shrugged off his coat, passed it back. Caleb, you'll freeze. I'll survive. Give it to them. Clara wrapped the coat around the babies. The crying softened, stopped. But Caleb was already shivering. Jacob noticed. We need to move faster. Can't push the horses harder. They'll slip. Then we walk. Lead them." Caleb nodded, swung down from the wagon. His boots hit ice and nearly went out from under him. He caught the sideboard, steadied himself. "Give me the reins." They walked, one agonizing step at a time. Caleb led the horses. Jacob walked beside them, steadying the wagon when it lurched. An hour passed. 2. The cold sank into Caleb's bones. His wounded arm throbbed. His side burned. Every breath felt like swallowing knives, but he kept walking. For Daniel. For the twins. For Clara. For himself, maybe. For whatever small chance at redemption still remained. "Caleb?" Clara's voice was weak. "Caleb, stop!" He turned. She was pointing at something behind them. Riders, 4 of them, coming fast. "Damn it!" Caleb reached for his rifle. "Jacob, get the wagon moving. Don't stop for anything." "What about you?" "I'll hold them off." "Like hell." Clara was climbing down from the wagon. "I'm not leaving you again." "Clara, don't." She grabbed her rifle, stood beside him. "We do this together or not at all." Caleb wanted to argue, wanted to throw her back in the wagon and send her racing toward safety. But he saw her face, the set of her jaw, the fire in her eyes. She wouldn't go, not without him. "Jacob," Caleb called. "Keep moving. Get those babies to the cabin. We'll catch up." The old man hesitated. Then he cracked the reins. The wagon lurched forward, disappearing around a bend in the trail. Caleb and Clara stood alone. The riders were closing fast. 100 yards, 75, 50. "Wait for my shot," Caleb said. "I know how to fight." "I know you do." He glanced at her. "Just stay alive, please." Something crossed her face. Something that might have been fear or hope or love. "You too." 25 yards. Caleb raised his rifle. Sighted. Squeezed. The lead rider flew from his saddle. Clara fired. Another man down. The remaining 2 split apart, circling wide. Professional. Experienced. Caleb tracked the one on the right. Fired. Missed. The rider returned fire. Bullets cracked off the rocks around them. Clara dropped behind a boulder. Caleb followed. 2 left, she said. "I noticed." "Ideas." Caleb risked a glance. The riders had dismounted, were advancing on foot, using cover. Smart. Too smart. "When I move, you run." "Caleb." "I mean it." He grabbed her arm. "Get to the cabin. Get the twins to safety. And leave you to die. If that's what it takes." Clara's eyes filled with something fierce. "No." "Clara." "I said no." She shook off his grip. "I've already lost everyone I ever cared about. I'm not losing you too." "You barely know me." "I know enough." The words echoed what she'd said before, but now they carried a different weight. "I know I'm not running anymore. Not from Harmon. Not from this." She touched his face. "Not from you." Caleb couldn't breathe. A bullet smacked into the boulder inches from his head. Down. He pulled Clara close, shielding her with his body. More shots. The air filled with the crack of gunfire and the whine of ricochets. Then a sound. Distant. Growing louder. Hoofbeats. A lot of them. Caleb's heart sank. Reinforcements. Harmon had sent reinforcements. But Clara was smiling. "Look." He looked. Coming down the trail from the opposite direction rode a group of men. 6, 8, 10. And at their head, wearing a black coat and a preacher's collar, was a man Caleb recognized. Reverend Elijah Cooper. The Reverend raised his hand. His men spread out, flanking the 2 remaining attackers. "Drop your weapons!" Cooper's voice boomed across the canyon. "In the name of the law and the Lord Almighty, drop your weapons!" The attackers exchanged glances, calculated odds. They dropped their guns. Cooper rode forward. His weathered face was grim but not unkind. "Caleb Stone, I've been looking for you." Caleb stood slowly. Clara rose beside him, rifle still ready. How did you find us? Daniel's letter. Cooper dismounted, approaching them. He sent it before he died. Told me you might come. Told me to watch the roads. His eyes moved to Clara. Didn't mention you'd have company. Clara Brennan. She didn't lower the rifle. This is my fight too now. Cooper studied her. Whatever he saw seemed to satisfy him. The twins. Safe. Caleb pointed up the trail. In a wagon, heading for a cabin at the pass. Then let's not keep them waiting. Cooper turned to his men. Secure these two. Take them to the marshal in Copper Springs. The attackers were bound, hauled onto horses, led away. Cooper turned back to Caleb and Clara. His expression softened slightly. You look like hell, son. Feel like it too. Can you ride? Can try. Cooper nodded to one of his men who brought forward 2 saddled horses. The wagon's slow. We'll ride ahead. My men will escort it the rest of the way. Caleb looked at Clara. She nodded. They mounted, followed Cooper up the trail. The cabin came into view 20 minutes later. Smoke rose from its chimney. Jacob stood in the doorway, shotgun ready, his face flooded with relief when he saw them. Thank God. I heard shooting. It's over. Clara dismounted, wincing as her wounded shoulder protested. For now. She pushed past Jacob into the cabin. The twins lay in their basket by the fire, sleeping peacefully. Clara sank to her knees beside them. Her whole body shook. Caleb found her like that a moment later, kneeling, crying. Both hands pressed to her mouth to muffle the sobs. He didn't speak, just knelt beside her, put his arm around her shoulders. She turned into him, buried her face against his chest, let out all the terror and exhaustion and grief she'd been holding since this started. Caleb held her, let her cry. And for the first time in 15 years, he felt something other than guilt. He felt hope. Outside, the wind howled and the snow fell, but inside the cabin, surrounded by warmth and safety and the quiet breathing of 2 sleeping babies, something new was beginning. Something that felt almost like home. Clara woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of men talking. She sat up fast, reaching for the rifle that wasn't there. Her heart pounded. Her shoulder screamed where the bullet had torn through. Easy. Caleb's voice came from across the cabin. We're safe. Safe. The word felt foreign. She'd forgotten what safe meant. The twins lay beside her, still sleeping in their basket. Clara touched each small face, checking. Warm, breathing, alive. She let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. How long was I out? 6 hours. Caleb handed her a cup of coffee. His face was drawn, but his color was better. Cooper's men are outside. No one's getting through. Clara took the coffee. Sipped. Let the warmth spread through her frozen limbs. Where's Jacob? Sleeping in the back room. He's exhausted. Caleb sat beside her. Close, but not touching. You should rest more. Can't. Clara's eyes found the window. Gray light filtered through. Dawn or dusk, she couldn't tell. Every time I close my eyes, I see them. Quinn, his men, coming for us. Quinn's dead. But Harmon isn't. Clara set down the coffee. You said it yourself. He'll come personally now. Caleb didn't deny it. That scared her more than anything. Cooper wants to talk to you, he said quietly. About the twins. About what happens next. What happens next is we get them to safety. It's not that simple anymore. Clara's stomach dropped. What do you mean? Before Caleb could answer, the cabin door opened. Reverend Elijah Cooper stepped inside, stamping snow from his boots. Behind him came a woman Clara didn't recognize. Small, gray-haired, sharp eyes behind wire spectacles. Mrs. Brennan. Cooper's voice was grave. This is Margaret Wilson. She was Sarah McAllister's aunt. Clara froze. Sarah. The twins' mother. I thought the whole family was dead. Not quite. Margaret Wilson stepped forward. Her face was lined with grief, but her spine was steel. I was in San Francisco when it happened. Came as soon as I got word. Clara looked at Caleb. His expression was carefully blank. What's going on? Margaret pulled out a folded document. These are the guardianship papers Daniel drew up before he died. In the event something happened to him and Sarah, custody of the twins would pass to Reverend Cooper. She paused. And then to me. Clara's heart clenched. You're taking them? That was the plan. Margaret exchanged a look with Cooper. Something passed between them that Clara couldn't read. There's been a complication, Cooper said. Fletcher Harmon has filed a competing claim. Says Daniel owed him money. Says the twins should be wards of the territory until the debt is settled. That's a lie. Caleb's voice was sharp. Daniel didn't owe Harmon anything. We know. Cooper's jaw tightened. But Harmon has judges in his pocket. Good judges. Respected ones. He looked at Clara. The territorial court is scheduled to hear his claim in 3 days. 3 days. Clara's mind raced. That's not enough time. No, it isn't. Margaret Wilson sat down heavily. Unless we can prove Harmon killed Daniel and Sarah, prove he manufactured that debt, prove everything. How? Caleb reached into his pocket, pulled out the silver key. This opens a safe in Daniel's study. The papers inside prove everything. Ownership, transfers, witnesses to Harmon's threats. Then we go get them, Clara said. The ranch is 60 miles from here, in the opposite direction from Copper Springs. Cooper shook his head. And Harmon's men are everywhere. The moment we move toward that safe, they'll know. So we let him win. Let him take these babies. No. Margaret's voice was fierce. We find another way. Silence fell over the cabin. Clara looked at the twins, at their innocent faces, at everything they represented. There is another way, she said slowly. Everyone turned to her. The court hearing. You said it's in 3 days. Yes? In Copper Springs. Yes. Clara stood. Her shoulder protested. She ignored it. Then we split up. Some of us take the twins to Copper Springs. Keep them safe until the hearing. She looked at Caleb. And some of us go get those papers. That's suicide, Cooper said. Harmon has 20 men watching that ranch. Then we don't go to the ranch. Caleb's eyes narrowed. What are you thinking? Daniel's lawyer, the one who drew up those papers. Clara turned to Margaret. He had copies. Right lawyers always keep copies. Margaret's face changed. Hope flickered. Abraham Whitmore. He has an office in Ridgemont. How far? 30 miles, half the distance to Daniel's ranch. Margaret stood. But Harmon knows about Whitmore. He'll have men there too. Maybe. Clara grabbed her coat. Maybe not. Harmon thinks the papers are in Daniel's safe. He doesn't know about copies. You don't know that. No, but it's our best chance. Cooper rubbed his jaw, thinking, calculating. It could work, he finally admitted. If we move fast. If Harmon doesn't figure out what we're doing. I'll go. Caleb stood. I know how these men think, how they move. Not alone. Clara's voice left no room for argument. I'm coming with you. Clara. Don't. She stepped close to him. We started this together. We finish it together. Caleb searched her face. Whatever he found there made him nod. Together. The twins stay with me, Margaret said firmly. And Reverend Cooper. We'll take them to Copper Springs. Keep them hidden until you return. And if we don't return, Margaret's face hardened, then I'll fight Harmon myself, with my bare hands if I have to. Clara looked at this small, fierce woman, saw the same fire that burned in her own chest. You'll see them again, Clara promised. Both of them, I swear it. Margaret took her hand. Squeezed. "Bring those papers, Mrs. Brennan. Bring them and end this." They left within the hour. Cooper's men provided fresh horses, supplies, ammunition. Jacob insisted on staying with the twins. His old eyes were wet when he hugged Clara goodbye. "You come back, Miss Clara. You hear me?" "I will. Promise me." "I promise." She held him tight. This man who'd been more father to her than her own. "Take care of them, Jacob. Don't let anyone touch them." "Over my dead body." Clara mounted her horse. Caleb was already in the saddle checking his rifle. "Ready?" he asked. "No." She looked back at the cabin, at the twins she might never see again. "But let's go anyway." They rode. The trail to Ridgemont wound through frozen canyons and ice-covered passes. Dangerous terrain even in summer. In winter, it was suicide. They went anyway. "Tell me about Daniel," Clara said after an hour of silence. The words came out of nowhere, surprising even her. Caleb was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Why he mattered so much. Why you'd die for his children." "I met him 8 years ago." Caleb's voice was distant. "Remembering. I was still running from the Kincaids, half-starved, half-dead. He found me in his barn. Like I found you. Like you found me." A ghost of a smile. "He could have turned me in. There was a bounty, $500, big money for a struggling rancher. But he didn't. No, he patched me up, fed me, asked about the mark on my chest." Caleb touched his shirt where the K hid beneath. "I told him everything. Every terrible thing I'd done. Every person I'd hurt. And he said everyone deserves a second chance. Said God didn't give up on people, so neither would he." Caleb's voice cracked slightly. "He gave me work, a place to stay. His friendship." He paused. "His trust." Clara understood then. Really understood. "He saved you. In every way that matters. And now you're trying to save his children." "Trying." Caleb's jaw tightened. "Failing mostly. I should have gotten to them sooner. Should have stopped Harmon before—" "Stop." Clara pulled her horse closer to his. "You did everything you could. You're still doing everything you can. That's what matters. Is it enough? It has to be." They rode in silence after that. But something had shifted between them. Another wall crumbled. Another truth shared. Clara found herself watching him. The way he sat his horse. The way his eyes constantly scanned for danger. The way his hands were gentle despite their strength. Thomas had never been gentle. Not once. "What are you thinking?" Caleb asked without turning. Clara startled. "Nothing." "Liar." She almost smiled. "Fine. I was thinking about Thomas." Caleb's posture changed, tensed. "Your husband. The man I killed." Clara said it plainly. No shame, no regret. "I was comparing you to him. And you're nothing alike." She paused. "Thank God." Caleb was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Do you miss him?" "No." The word came fast, hard. "Not for 1 second. Even after 8 years of marriage. Especially after 8 years. Clara's hands tightened on the reins. "You want to know the worst part? I loved him once. In the beginning. Before I knew what he really was." "What changed?" "Everything. Nothing." She shook her head. "The first time he hit me was 3 months after the wedding. He'd been drinking, got angry about dinner being cold. I told myself it was just that once. But it wasn't. No, it got worse, slowly, like boiling a frog." Clara's voice went flat. "By the time I realized how bad it was, I had nowhere to go. No family, no money, nothing but that ranch and the man who owned it." "Owned you?" The word hit like a slap. True. Painful. "Yes, he owned me, like property, like livestock." Clara met Caleb's eyes. "Until the night he didn't anymore. The night he died. The night I stopped being afraid. Clara sat straighter in her saddle. I've never told anyone this. Not Jacob, not Cooper, no one. Why tell me? Because you understand. She reached across the space between them, touched his arm, brief, warm. Because you've got your own ghosts, your own regrets, and you're still here, still fighting. Caleb covered her hand with his, just for a moment. We're quite the pair. Two broken people. Maybe. His thumb brushed her knuckles. Or maybe two people putting themselves back together. Clara's throat tightened. She wanted to say more. Wanted to tell him what was growing in her chest. This wild, terrifying hope. But there wasn't time. Caleb's head snapped up. His hand dropped to his rifle. Riders! Coming fast! Clara heard them now. Hoofbeats. Multiple. Closing from behind. How many? 4, maybe 5. Caleb scanned the terrain. We can't outrun them, not on this trail. Then we fight. Clara, don't argue with me. She drew her rifle, checked the chamber. Just tell me where to aim. Caleb pointed to a cluster of boulders ahead. There, high ground. We make them come to us. They spurred their horses, reached the rocks, dismounted. Clara found cover, raised her rifle. Her heart pounded, but her hands were steady. I count 5, Caleb said, settling beside her. Same. Recognize any of them? Clara squinted at the approaching riders. One face stood out. Tall, thin, a scar running from his eye to his jaw. The one in front. He was at my ranch, when Quinn came. He must have escaped, gone back to Harmon. Caleb's voice hardened. They know where we're going. Then we stop them, all of them. Clara, if we kill Harmon's men, then Harmon loses his army. Clara sighted down the barrel. No more talking, they're in range. She fired. The lead rider jerked, screamed, tumbled from his horse. Chaos erupted. The other riders scattered, drawing weapons. Caleb fired twice. Another man went down. Return fire cracked off the rocks around them. Clara ducked. Rose. Fired again. Miss. Damn it. Caleb was shooting methodically, calm, precise. A third rider fell. 2 left. One of them spurred toward the rocks, pistol blazing. Brave or stupid, Clara couldn't tell. She shot him at 10 feet. He dropped like a stone. The last rider wheeled his horse, fled toward the horizon. Caleb raised his rifle, sighted. Wait! Clara grabbed his arm. Let him go. He'll warn Harmon. Good. Clara's eyes were hard. Let Harmon know we're coming. Let him be afraid for once. Caleb hesitated. Then he lowered the rifle. You're either brilliant or crazy. Still both. They checked the fallen men. 4 dead. No survivors. Clara felt nothing. No remorse. No guilt. Just cold satisfaction. These men had hunted children, had killed families. They deserved what they got. We should move, Caleb said quietly. Before more come. They mounted, rode hard. Ridgemont appeared 2 hours later. A small town clinging to the side of a mountain. Maybe 50 buildings. One main street covered in dirty snow. Whitmore's office, Clara asked. There. Caleb pointed to a 2-story building near the center of town. A sign read, Abraham Whitmore, Attorney at Law. They tied their horses at the end of the street, walked casually, trying to blend in. Stay alert, Caleb murmured. Harmon might have men here already. I know. They reached the office. Caleb tried the door. Locked. Around back, Clara said. They circled the building, found a back entrance. Caleb picked the lock with practiced ease. They slipped inside. The office was dark, cold, empty. Whitmore, Clara called softly. No answer. Caleb found a lamp, lit it. Shadows retreated. The office had been ransacked. Papers everywhere. Drawers pulled out. Furniture overturned. Clara's stomach sank. They beat us here. Maybe. Caleb was searching the debris. Maybe not. Lawyers are paranoid. Whitmore would have hidden the important documents. Where? Somewhere no one would think to look. Caleb moved to the fireplace, ran his hands along the mantel. Help me. Check everything that doesn't look like a hiding place. They searched. Desperate. Methodical. Clara checked under loose floorboards, behind picture frames, inside books. Nothing. Caleb, there's nothing. Wait. He was standing in front of a painting, a simple landscape, mountains and sky. This picture, it's the only thing in the office that isn't disturbed. Clara moved closer. So everything else has been torn apart. But this... Caleb lifted the painting carefully. It hasn't been touched. Behind the painting was a wall safe. Whitmore. Clara almost laughed. Clever bastard. Caleb examined the safe. Combination lock. Any ideas? Clara thought. What would a lawyer use? Something meaningful. Something he'd remember. His birthday? We don't know it. The date he passed the bar? Same problem. Clara's mind raced. Then she remembered something Margaret had said. Something about Whitmore and Daniel being friends since childhood. Try Daniel's birthday. August 15th, 1842. Caleb turned the dial. 8, 15, 42. The safe clicked open. Inside was a stack of documents. Yellowed, official. Covered in seals and signatures. Clara grabbed them. Started reading. Oh my God. What? It's everything. Her hands shook. Deeds. Witness statements. A signed confession from one of Harmon's men about the murders. She looked up. Caleb, this is everything. Enough to hang Harmon 10 times over. Caleb's face split into a rare grin. Then let's get it to Copper Springs. A gun cocked behind them. Clara spun. A man stood in the doorway, fat, sweating, a pistol in his trembling hand. Put the papers down, he said. Now. Caleb moved in front of Clara. Whitmore? Yes. The lawyer's eyes darted nervously. And you must be the people Harmon warned me about. Harmon threatened you. Harmon owns me. Whitmore's gun shook. He owns everyone in this town, everyone in this territory. Those papers could end him, Clara said. End all of this. I know. Whitmore's voice cracked. Why do you think I hid them? Then let us take them. Let us finish what you started. I can't. Tears streamed down the lawyer's fat cheeks. He has my family, my wife, my daughter. If I let you leave... Where are they? His ranch. He took them 3 days ago. Whitmore's gun lowered slightly. Said if I gave the papers to anyone, he'd kill them. Kill them slow. Clara's heart clenched. Even now, even at the end, Harmon was destroying lives. We can save them, she said quietly. If you let us. How? These papers. Clara held them up. Once they're in front of a judge, Harmon's finished. His men will scatter. His power will crumble. And if you fail, then we're all dead anyway. Clara stepped toward him. But at least we'll have tried. At least we'll have fought. Whitmore stared at her, at the papers, at the gun in his own hand. He killed Daniel, the lawyer whispered. My best friend since we were boys. He killed him like it was nothing. Then help us make it mean something. A long moment passed. The gun trembled. Then Whitmore lowered it. Go, before I change my mind. Clara grabbed the papers, stuffed them into her coat. Caleb took her arm, pulling her toward the back door. Wait. Whitmore's voice stopped them. There's a back trail out of town, through the mine tunnels. Harmon's men don't know about it. Where? Behind the livery stable. Look for a broken fence post. The entrance is there. Whitmore's eyes met Clara's. Save my family, please. We will. Clara meant it. I promise. They ran. The tunnel was dark, cold, endless. Clara counted her steps to stay sane. Caleb led with a small torch he'd found near the entrance. How much further? Should open up on the other side of the mountain, Caleb's voice echoed. From there it's a straight shot to Copper Springs. How long? Half a day, maybe less if we push hard. Half a day, and then the hearing, and then everything would be decided. Clara clutched the papers against her chest. Everything they'd fought for, everything they'd bled for, it all came down to these yellowed pages. Caleb. Yeah. When this is over, when the twins are safe. She hesitated. What happens to us? He stopped walking, turned to face her in the torchlight. What do you want to happen? Clara opened her mouth, closed it. What did she want? Safety, peace, a life without fear. All of those things. But also something more. Something she'd been afraid to name. I want to stop running, she finally said. I want a home, a real home, with people who... Her voice caught. People who... What? People who matter. Clara met his eyes. People like you. Caleb was very still. The torch flickered between them. Clara, I'm a wanted man. I've got blood on my hands, a price on my head. Being with me means... I know what it means. She stepped closer. I know exactly what it means, and I'm choosing it anyway. Why? Because you're the first person in 10 years who looked at me and saw something worth saving. Tears burned her eyes. Because when I'm with you, I remember who I used to be. Before Thomas. Before everything. Clara? Don't say no. Her hand found his in the darkness. Don't say it's impossible. Just tell me there's a chance. Tell me when this is over we can try. Caleb's fingers tightened around hers. There's a chance. His voice was rough. More than a chance. Promise me. I promise. He lifted her hand, pressed his lips to her knuckles. Whatever happens, whatever comes next, we face it together. Clara closed her eyes, let the tears fall. Not tears of sorrow, tears of something she'd thought she'd never feel again. Hope. Together, she whispered. They stood like that for a moment. Two broken people in a dark tunnel holding on to each other like the world was ending. Maybe it was. Or maybe it was just beginning. We need to move, Caleb said finally. Cooper's waiting. Clara wiped her eyes, straightened her spine. Then let's not keep him waiting. They walked on, hand in hand, toward the light at the end of the tunnel, toward whatever came next. The tunnel emptied onto a snow-covered ridge. Clara sucked in cold air. Her lungs burned. Her legs shook. But they'd made it. How far to Copper Springs? Caleb squinted at the horizon. 4 hours. Maybe 5. The hearing is at noon tomorrow. I know. He helped her down the rocky slope. We'll make it. They found their horses where they'd left them tied to a dead tree near the tunnel entrance. The animals were spooked, pawing the frozen ground, eyes rolling white. Something's wrong, Clara said. Caleb drew his revolver, scanned the ridge, the trees, the shadows. Nothing moved. Maybe just the cold. But his voice was tight, uncertain. They mounted quickly, rode hard. The first hour passed without incident. Then the second. Clara began to relax, began to believe they might actually make it. That's when she saw the smoke. Caleb. He'd already noticed. A thin column rising from beyond the next ridge. Too much smoke for a campfire. Too black. That's Copper Springs, he said grimly. Clara's blood turned to ice. The twins. They spurred their horses, raced toward the smoke. The animals flew over the frozen ground, hooves pounding, breath steaming. The town came into view. Clara's heart stopped. Half of Copper Springs was burning. Flames leaped from building to building. People ran through the streets, screaming, carrying children, dragging possessions. And in the center of town, surrounded by armed men, stood Fletcher Harmon. Clara had never seen him before, but she knew. The way he sat his horse, the way his men deferred to him, the cold command in his posture. This was the man who'd killed Daniel, Sarah, Margaret, everyone. This was the monster. "Where are they?" Clara grabbed Caleb's arm. "Where are the twins?" "I don't know." His face was ashen. "The church. Cooper was hiding them in the church." They looked. The church stood at the end of Main Street, still intact, still standing, but surrounded by Harmon's men. "How many?" Clara asked. 15, maybe 20. Caleb's jaw tightened. "Too many. We have to try." "Clara, if we ride in there." "Those babies are in that church. Jacob is in that church." Clara drew her rifle. "I'm not leaving them." Caleb stared at her. Then he nodded once. "Together." Together. They circled wide. Came at the town from the east, where the fire hadn't spread yet, where Harmon's attention was focused elsewhere. Clara counted heartbeats, counted breaths, counted the seconds until everything changed. They reached the edge of town, dismounted, moved through alleys and shadows. "There," Caleb pointed. A side door to the church, unguarded. The men were all focused on the front entrance. They ran, low, fast, silent. Reached the door. Caleb tried the handle. Locked. "Jacob," Clara hissed. "Jacob, it's Clara. Open up." A moment's silence. Then the scrape of a bar being lifted. The door cracked open. Jacob's weathered face appeared, shotgun raised. "Miss Clara." Relief flooded his eyes. "Thank God." They slipped inside. The door closed behind them. The church was dark, cold, but intact. And there, huddled near the altar, was Margaret Wilson, with the twins in her arms. Clara ran to them, fell to her knees, touched each small face. "They're okay," Margaret said. Her voice trembled. "Scared, but okay." "Where's Cooper?" "Gone." Jacob's voice was bitter. "Harmon took him, an hour ago. Said he'd trade the Reverend's life for the babies." Clara's stomach turned. "He's using Cooper as leverage." "Yes." Margaret's eyes were wet. "He knows about the hearing, knows the papers. He's desperate." "Good." Clara stood. "Desperate men make mistakes." "Miss Clara." Jacob moved to her side. "There's something else. Something Cooper told me before they took him." "What?" "The judge. The one hearing the case tomorrow." Jacob's face was grim. "He's already here. Arrived this morning. Harmon's men have him too." Clara felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Without the judge, the papers were worthless. Without the hearing, the twins had no protection. Where? The hotel, across the street. Clara moved to the window, peered through a crack in the boards. The hotel stood 50 yards away, 3 stories, armed men at every entrance, and in the upstairs window a man's silhouette, pacing, trapped. How many guards? 6 on the ground floor, 2 on the stairs, unknown inside. Jacob checked his shotgun. "Too many for us." "Maybe not." Caleb joined her at the window. His eyes were calculating. "Harmon's focused on the church. He thinks we're in here, doesn't know about the papers. So we use that." Caleb turned to face them all. "Clara and I create a distraction. Draw Harmon's men away from the hotel. Jacob, you get the judge out." "And the twins?" Margaret asked. "Stay here. Bar the door. Don't open it for anyone except us." "What kind of distraction?" Caleb's jaw set. "Me. I walk out the front door. Surrender." "No." Clara grabbed his arm. Absolutely not. It's the only way. He'll kill you. Maybe, maybe not. Caleb's eyes met hers. Harmon wants the key, wants to know where the papers are. He'll keep me alive long enough to find out. And when he does find out, then you'll have already gotten the judge, already exposed the truth. Caleb's hand covered hers. This is what I was meant to do, Clara. Why God put those babies in my path? Why I survived this long? Don't. Tears burned her eyes. Don't you dare talk like that. Someone has to end this. Someone has to stop Harmon. Caleb's voice softened. I'd rather it be me than you. We said together. We are together, even if we're not in the same place. He touched her face, gentle, tender. Whatever happens out there, know that you saved me. You and those babies. You gave me something worth dying for. I don't want you to die. Neither do I. A ghost of a smile. But I'd rather die knowing they're safe than live knowing I didn't try. Clara wanted to argue, wanted to scream, wanted to lock him in this church and never let him go. But she saw his eyes, saw the peace there, the certainty. This was his redemption, his chance to balance the scales. She couldn't take that from him. You come back, she said fiercely. You hear me? You do whatever you have to do, and then you come back. I'll try. Don't try. Promise. Caleb hesitated. Then, I promise. He kissed her. Not gentle, not tentative, a kiss that burned with everything they'd never said. Every moment they'd never have. Every future they might never see. Clara kissed him back, poured every ounce of love and fear and hope into it. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Go, Caleb whispered. Be ready. The moment you hear shooting, get that judge. Clara nodded. Couldn't speak. Caleb turned to Jacob. Keep her safe. With my life. Keep them all safe. He walked to the front door, paused, looked back one last time. Then he stepped outside. Clara watched through the window, watched him walk down the church steps, watched him raise his hands. Harmon, Caleb's voice carried across the burning town. I'm the one you want, let the others go. Movement everywhere. Harmon's men converging, surrounding him. Harmon himself rode forward. His face was cold, handsome in a ruthless way. The face of a man who had never lost anything he wanted. Caleb Stone. Harmon's voice was silky smooth. Daniel's pet outlaw. I've heard so much about you. Let the church go. The people inside have nothing to do with this. On the contrary. Harmon dismounted, walked toward Caleb with predatory grace. They have everything to do with this. Those babies in there are worth a fortune. They're children. Their property. Their father's property. And since their father owed me money, Daniel didn't owe you anything. Papers say otherwise. Harmon smiled. Cold. Empty. Amazing what you can buy with enough gold. Judges, lawyers, witnesses. Not all of them. Harmon's smile flickered. What does that mean? It means Whitmore kept copies. Caleb's voice hardened. It means everything you've done is documented. Every murder, every theft, every lie. Where are these papers? Somewhere you'll never find them. Harmon's face went still. Then he drew his pistol and pressed it against Caleb's forehead. I'll ask once more. Where are the papers? Caleb didn't flinch. Go to hell. Clara stopped breathing. Her finger tightened on her rifle trigger. One shot. She could take Harmon down. End this. But she'd never make it out, and neither would anyone else. She forced herself to wait, to trust the plan. You're willing to die for those brats? Harmon sounded genuinely curious. I'm willing to die for what's right. How noble! Harmon's finger tensed on the trigger. How useless! Boss? One of Harmon's men came running. The hotel! Someone's at the hotel! Harmon spun. What? Clara saw it. Jacob moving through the shadows, reaching the hotel's back entrance. The distraction was working. Go! Harmon screamed at his men. Stop them! Half his men broke away, ran toward the hotel. Caleb moved. His elbow caught Harmon's gun arm. The pistol discharged into the air. Caleb spun, driving his fist into Harmon's face. The cattle baron staggered. Blood sprayed from his broken nose. Now, Clara! Caleb shouted. Now! Clara burst from the church, rifle up, firing. One of Harmon's men went down, then another. Chaos erupted. Gunfire everywhere, screaming, running. Clara fought her way toward Caleb, shot a man who came at her with a knife, ducked a bullet that whistled past her ear. Caleb and Harmon were grappling on the ground, rolling through the snow, fighting for the gun. Clara tried to get a clear shot. Couldn't. They were too close. Harmon's fist connected with Caleb's wounded side. Caleb gasped, his grip loosening. Harmon grabbed the gun, raised it. No! Clara screamed. She fired. The bullet caught Harmon in the shoulder. He howled, dropping the pistol. Caleb kicked him away, scrambled for the weapon. But Harmon was already running, stumbling toward his horse, his men closing around him. Fall back! Harmon screamed. Fall back! They fled, a dozen men following their wounded leader, disappearing into the smoke and chaos. Clara ran to Caleb, found him on his knees, clutching his side. How bad? Stitches tore. His face was gray with pain. I'll live. You'd better. She helped him to his feet. Jacob. A shout from the hotel. Jacob emerged, supporting an older man in judicial robes. Got him. The old soldier's voice was triumphant. Got the judge. Clara felt something crack inside her chest. Relief, hope, something perilously close to joy. They'd done it. Against all odds, they'd done it. The church, she said. Everyone to the church, now. They gathered. Clara, Caleb, Jacob, the judge, Margaret with the twins. The fire still burned. Harmon's men still lurked somewhere in the smoke. But they were alive. All of them. The hearing, Clara said to the judge. His name was Harrison, she learned. A territorial appointee with 30 years on the bench. Can it still happen? Not here. Harrison looked at the burning town. But I have authority anywhere in the territory. If you have the evidence, we have it. Clara pulled the papers from inside her coat, handed them over. Harrison's eyes widened as he read. Page after page, his face growing paler with each revelation. My God, he whispered. I knew Harmon was ruthless, but this... Can you stop him? I can do more than stop him. Harrison's voice hardened. I can hang him. Then do it. Clara's eyes found the twins in Margaret's arms. Do it for them, for everyone he's destroyed. Harrison nodded slowly. The hearing will proceed, tomorrow morning, wherever we can find a safe location. Cooper's Ranch, Margaret suggested. It's 10 miles south, still standing. Harmon hasn't touched it. Then that's where we go. Clara turned to Jacob. Can you ride? Can a fish swim? Good. She looked at Caleb, at the blood seeping through his bandages. You need a doctor. I need to see this through. Caleb. Don't. He straightened with obvious effort. I didn't come this far to miss the ending. Clara wanted to argue, wanted to force him to rest, but she knew that look, that stubborn, infuriating determination. Fine, but you ride in the wagon. No arguments. They left within the hour. The journey to Cooper's Ranch was quiet, tense. Every shadow could hide Harmon's men. Every sound could signal an ambush, but none came. Harmon was regrouping, licking his wounds, planning his next move. They reached the ranch as the sun set, A modest spread, similar to Clara's own. Peaceful, isolated, safe for now. They bedded down for the night. Jacob took first watch. Harrison studied the papers by lamplight, making notes, preparing his case. Clara sat with the twins, watched them sleep. "You love them." She turned. Caleb stood in the doorway, one arm wrapped around his ribs. "You should be resting." "Couldn't sleep." He moved closer, sat beside her. "You love them." "Yes." The word came easy now. No hesitation, no fear. "I know they're not mine. I know after tomorrow they'll go with Margaret. But yes, I love them. They're lucky. They're orphans. Their parents are dead. How is that lucky? Because they have you." Caleb touched Lily's tiny hand. "Because someone loves them enough to kill for them, die for them." Clara was quiet for a moment. "What happens after tomorrow, if we win?" "You heard Harrison. Harmon hangs. The twins get their inheritance. Margaret raises them." "And you?" Caleb's jaw tightened. "Depends." "On what?" "On whether the warrant for my arrest still stands." He met her eyes. "I told you. I'm a wanted man. Bridgeport hasn't forgotten. You're also a hero. You saved those babies. Exposed Harmon. The judge saw everything you did. Maybe that'll matter. Maybe it won't." Clara took his hand, held it tight. "It matters to me. Clara. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know something." She turned to face him fully. "These past few days with you have been the most alive I've felt in 10 years. Maybe ever. Even with the shooting, the running, the nearly dying. Especially with those." A small smile. "I spent 4 years hiding, protecting myself, building walls so high no one could get through." Her voice softened. "You got through. So did you." Caleb's fingers tightened around hers. "I thought I was dead inside. Thought Kincaid burned everything good out of me. But you? What about me? You made me remember why I kept fighting. Why I survived." He lifted her hand, pressed his lips to her palm. "You made me want to live again." Clara's heart ached. This man. This broken, beautiful, impossible man. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever comes next, stay." "You don't know what you're asking." "I know exactly what I'm asking." She leaned closer. "I'm asking for a chance, a real chance, at something neither of us thought we'd ever have again." "What's that?" "A future." Caleb stared at her. In the lamplight, his eyes glistened. "I don't deserve you. Let me be the judge of that." "Clara, stop." She pressed a finger to his lips. "Stop fighting. Stop running. Just stop." He was silent for a long moment. Then he pulled her close, held her against his chest. His heart pounded beneath her ear. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay what?" "Okay, I'll stay." His arms tightened around her. "If we survive tomorrow, if they don't hang me, if there's anything left when this is over." He kissed the top of her head. "I'll stay." Clara closed her eyes. Let herself believe it. Let herself hope. Tomorrow would bring the hearing, the confrontation, the reckoning. But tonight, in this quiet ranch house with 2 sleeping babies nearby, she had something she'd thought lost forever. Someone to hold on to. Someone who held her back. "Get some sleep," she murmured against his chest. "Can't. Harrison needs my testimony in the morning." "Then rest. Just rest." They sat like that through the night. Clara in Caleb's arms, the twins sleeping peacefully. Outside the stars wheeled overhead. The wind whispered through the pines. And somewhere in the darkness, Fletcher Harmon plotted his revenge. But that was tomorrow's battle. Tonight they had this moment, this peace. It would have to be enough. Dawn came too fast. Clara woke with her head on Caleb's shoulder. The twins were crying. Margaret was already up preparing bottles. "What time is it?" Clara asked groggy. 6. Jacob appeared with coffee. "Harrison wants to start at 8, says he wants this over with before Harmon can interfere." Clara nodded, took the coffee, let it burn away the fog of sleep. "Where's Cooper?" "Still missing." Jacob's face was grim. "Harmon's holding him somewhere, insurance probably. Then we need to find him." "Miss Clara, he risked everything for those babies, for us." Clara set down the coffee. "I'm not leaving him to die." "We don't even know where he is." "Then we find out." Clara grabbed her rifle. "Where are Harmon's men most likely to have taken him?" "There's an old silver mine 5 miles east," Caleb said. He was already on his feet, pale but determined. "Abandoned. Isolated. Perfect place to hold a prisoner." "Then that's where we go." "Clara, the hearing starts at 8. We'll be back before then." Clara met his eyes. "Cooper saved us. Multiple times. We owe him this." Caleb hesitated, then he nodded. "Together. Together." They rode out at first light. Clara, Caleb, and Jacob. Margaret stayed with the twins, and Judge Harrison, surrounded by what remained of Cooper's ranch hands. The mine was exactly where Caleb remembered. A dark mouth in the mountainside, 2 horses tied outside. "Only 2 guards," Clara whispered. "That we can see." Caleb checked his revolver. "Could be more inside." "Only one way to find out." They dismounted, approached on foot, silent, careful. The first guard never saw Jacob coming. The old soldier moved like a ghost, his knife finding the man's throat before he could cry out. The second guard heard something, turned, found Clara's rifle barrel pressed against his forehead. "Where's the preacher?" Clara asked quietly. The guard's eyes went wide. "Inside. 3rd tunnel on the left. But ma'am, you can't." Clara knocked him unconscious with the rifle butt. "Let's move." The mine was dark, cold, dripping. They found Cooper exactly where the guard said, tied to a support beam. Beaten, bloody, but alive. "Clara." Cooper's voice was hoarse. "How?" Explanations later. She cut his bonds with her knife. "Can you walk?" "I think so." Caleb helped him up. Cooper swayed but stayed standing. "Harmon," the Reverend gasped. "He's planning something. I heard his men talking. An attack on the ranch." Clara's blood ran cold. "The twins. We have to go back, now." They ran. The ride back was agony. Every second felt like an hour. Every shadow could hide Harmon's army. The ranch came into view. Clara's heart stopped. Smoke. Not a lot. Not like Copper Springs. But enough. A barn burning. Gunfire echoing. "No," she breathed. "No, no, no." They charged into the chaos. Harmon's men were everywhere. At least 20. Surrounding the main house, shooting at the windows. Inside, Clara could hear the twins crying. "Caleb," she screamed. "I see them." He was already firing, dropping men, clearing a path. Clara rode straight at the house. Bullets whizzed past her ears. One grazed her arm. She didn't slow. She leaped from her horse, hit the ground running, burst through the front door. Margaret stood in the center of the room, a pistol in each hand. 3 bodies lay at her feet. "Clara, are they safe? Are the twins safe?" "Yes, in the cellar." Margaret's face was streaked with blood and tears. "But Harrison—" Clara looked. The judge lay on the floor, not moving. "Is he—" "Wounded, not dead, but we need help. We need—" Gunfire erupted outside, closer now, louder. Clara ran to the window. Harmon himself had arrived, on his black horse, silver pistols gleaming, and he was heading straight for the house. Clara grabbed her rifle. This ended now. Clara stepped onto the porch. Harmon saw her, reined in his horse. His men stopped firing. Silence fell over the ranch. Only the crackle of the burning barn. Only the distant crying of the twins. "Mrs. Brennan." Harmon's voice was calm, pleasant, like they were meeting at a church social. "You've caused me quite a bit of trouble." "Good." Harmon smiled. Blood still stained his shirt from where she'd shot him yesterday. But he moved like a man who'd never been hurt. "I'm going to make you an offer," he said. "One time only. Give me the twins. Give me the papers. Walk away." "No. You don't even want to hear the terms." "I don't need to." Clara raised her rifle. "Those babies aren't property. They're children. Daniel's children. And you murdered their parents." "I did what was necessary." Harmon shrugged. "Daniel was a fool. He had everything. Land, silver, a beautiful wife, and he threw it all away because he wouldn't make a deal." "You mean he wouldn't sell to you?" "I mean he didn't understand how the world works." Harmon's eyes hardened. "The strong survive. The weak perish. That's nature. That's God's law." "That's not God." Clara's voice was ice. "That's you, pretending to be God." Harmon's smile vanished. "Last chance, Mrs. Brennan. Give me what I want." "Come and take it." For a moment, nothing moved. Then Harmon raised his hand. "Kill them all." His men surged forward. Clara fired. The first rider went down. She cycled the rifle. Fired again. Another fell. But there were too many. 15. 20. Coming from every direction. A bullet shattered the window behind her. Glass rained down. Clara ducked, rolled, came up shooting. Caleb appeared at her side. His revolver barked. Once. Twice. 3 times. "Inside!" he shouted. "Get inside!" They fell back through the door. Jacob slammed it shut. Threw the bar across. Bullets punched through the wood. Clara hit the floor, pulling Caleb down with her. "How many left?" she gasped. "Too many." Caleb reloaded with shaking hands. "We can't hold them." "We have to try." A crash from the back of the house. Someone was breaking through. "Go!" Clara pushed him toward the sound. "I'll hold the front." Caleb hesitated for half a heartbeat. Then he was gone. Clara turned back to the door. Heard men gathering outside. Heard Harmon's voice giving orders. "Burn it down. Burn it all down." No, not like this. Not after everything. Clara looked around frantically. The judge lay unconscious against the wall. Margaret crouched near the cellar door, protecting the entrance to where the twins hid. The twins. Those 2 little girls who'd changed everything, who'd given Clara a reason to fight, a reason to live. She wasn't going to let them die. "Margaret." Clara crawled toward her. "Is there another way out?" "The cellar. There's a tunnel. Cooper built it years ago." "Where does it lead?" "The creek, half-mile east." Clara's mind raced. If they could get the twins out, if they could buy enough time. "Take them," she said. "Take the babies and go." "What about you?" "I'll hold them off." "Clara, that's suicide." "Maybe." Clara gripped Margaret's arm. "But those babies are the only thing that matters now. They're Daniel's legacy, Sarah's legacy, everything their parents died for." Tears streamed down Margaret's face. "I can't leave you." "You can. You will." Clara's voice softened. "Please, Margaret. Please. Do this for them." Margaret stared at her for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I'll tell them about you. When they're old enough, I'll tell them everything." "Tell them I loved them." Clara's voice cracked. "Tell them that was real." Margaret hugged her. Brief. Fierce. Then she disappeared down the cellar stairs. Clara turned back to the fight. The front door was splintering. Flames licked at the windows. Smoke filled the air. But Clara Brennan had stopped being afraid a long time ago. She raised her rifle and waited. The door burst open. 3 men rushed in. Clara shot the first one before he took 2 steps. The second came at her with a knife. She blocked with the rifle, drove the butt into his face. He went down. The third grabbed her from behind. His arm locked around her throat. Clara couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Stars exploded in her vision. She drove her elbow back, felt ribs crack. The man's grip loosened. Clara spun, grabbed the knife from the floor and buried it in his chest. He looked at her with surprise, then fell. Clara stood gasping. Blood dripped from a cut on her forehead. Her shoulder wound had reopened, but she was alive. More men coming. She could hear them, could smell the smoke getting thicker. Where was Caleb? Where was Jacob? A gunshot from the back of the house. Then silence. "Caleb!" Clara screamed. No answer. She ran toward the sound, found the back door hanging open. 2 of Harmon's men lay dead on the floor, but no Caleb, no Jacob. Then she heard it. Outside. Voices raised in anger. She moved to the window. Caleb knelt in the dirt, hands bound behind his back, blood streaming from a wound on his head, and standing over him, silver pistol pressed to his temple, was Fletcher Harmon. "Mrs. Brennan?" Harmon's voice carried clearly. "I know you're watching. Come out or I kill him." Clara's heart stopped. Her breath stopped. Everything stopped. Caleb. Her. Caleb. On his knees. About to die. Because of her. Because she'd chosen to fight. "Don't do it," Caleb shouted. His voice was hoarse but strong. "Clara, don't you dare!" Harmon pistol whipped him. Caleb slumped but didn't fall. 30 seconds. "Mrs. Brennan. Then I paint the ground with his brains." Clara looked at the rifle in her hands. At the window. At Caleb. She couldn't get a clean shot. Not from here. Not without risking him. But maybe she didn't need to. 20 seconds. Clara dropped the rifle, raised her hands, walked out the front door. "I'm here." Harmon's eyes lit up. Victory. Triumph. The look of a man who always got what he wanted. Wise decision. He kept the gun on Caleb, but turned to face her. "The papers. Where are they?" "Inside. With the judge." "And the twins?" Clara's heart clenched. "Gone. Margaret took them through the tunnel." Harmon's face twisted. "You're lying." "Check the cellar yourself." He gestured to one of his men. The man disappeared into the house. Silence stretched. Clara counted heartbeats, counted the seconds until the man returned. "She's right, boss. Cellar's empty. Tunnel goes underground." Harmon's composure cracked. For the first time, Clara saw the rage beneath, the animal behind the civilized mask. "Find them!" he screamed. "All of you, find those babies!" His men scattered, running for horses, disappearing into the darkness, until only Harmon remained. Him, Caleb, and Clara. "You think you've won?" Harmon's voice was deadly quiet. "You think this changes anything? It changes everything." Clara's voice was steady. "Those papers are still inside. The judge is still alive. By morning, the whole territory will know what you did. The judge can have an accident. Papers can burn. And Whitmore, and everyone else who knows." Clara shook her head. "It's over, Harmon. You just don't know it yet." "Nothing is over until I say it's over." Harmon raised his pistol, pointed it at Clara. "And I say you die first." Caleb moved. His bound hands didn't stop him. He threw himself at Harmon's legs, knocked him off balance. The gun went off. The bullet whistled past Clara's ear. Clara dove forward. Her hand closed on a rock. She swung. The rock connected with Harmon's skull. He staggered, dropped the pistol. Caleb was on his feet somehow, his hands still bound but his legs free. He kicked Harmon in the chest. The cattle baron fell backward, hit the ground hard. Clara grabbed the pistol, aimed it at Harmon's head. "Don't move!" Harmon lay still, Blood trickled from his temple, but his eyes burned with hatred. "You can't kill me?" His voice was rough. "I'm Fletcher Harmon. I own this territory." "You own nothing." Clara's finger tightened on the trigger. "Not anymore. Pull that trigger and you're a murderer, just like me." "No." Clara's voice was ice. "Not like you. Never like you." She wanted to do it. God, she wanted to do it. For Daniel. For Sarah. For everyone this monster had destroyed. But that wasn't justice. That was revenge. And Clara Brennan was done letting men like Harmon define who she was. "Jacob!" she called. The old soldier emerged from behind the barn, limping but alive, a gash on his arm, but still standing. "Miss Clara." "Find some rope. Mr. Harmon is going to wait for the territorial marshal." Harmon's face went pale. "You can't do this. I have friends. Powerful friends." "Not anymore." Clara kept the gun steady. "Your friends are going to run when they find out what you've done. Rats always leave a sinking ship." Jacob returned with rope, bound Harmon's hands and feet, dragged him toward the barn. Clara finally lowered the pistol. Her legs gave out. She would have hit the ground, but Caleb was there, catching her, holding her. "Easy." His voice was gentle. "I've got you." "Your hands." Jacob cut them loose. He pulled her close. "Clara, Clara, look at me." She looked. His face was bloody. His eyes were wet. "You came out," he said. "You surrendered. For me." "Of course I did. He would have killed you." "Maybe." Clara touched his face. "But I couldn't watch him kill you. Not without trying." Caleb pulled her into his arms, held her like she was the only real thing in the world. "I love you," he whispered. "God help me, Clara. I love you." The words hit her like a wave, warm, overwhelming, terrifying. "I love you too." She buried her face against his chest. "I love you too." They stood like that for a long moment. Two broken people, holding each other in the wreckage of their victory. Then Clara heard it. Hoofbeats, coming fast. She tensed, reached for the pistol, but Caleb was smiling. "Relax." He nodded toward the approaching riders. "That's not Harmon's men." Clara squinted, saw the star glinting on the lead rider's chest, the territorial marshal, and behind him, 20 deputies. "Howline Cooper." Caleb's smile widened. He got word out before they captured him. Help was always coming. We just had to hold on long enough. Clara laughed. She couldn't help it. After everything, after all the terror and blood and loss, she laughed. "We did it," she breathed. "We actually did it." "We did." The marshal dismounted, took in the scene. The burning barn, the bound prisoner, the wounded survivors. "Someone want to tell me what the hell happened here?" Clara looked at Caleb. Caleb looked at Clara. "It's a long story," she said. "But we've got the evidence. All of it." Dawn broke over the ranch. Clara sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the sunrise. Her wounds had been bandaged. The fire had been put out. Harmon had been taken away in chains. And beside her, sleeping in their basket, were Lily and Rose. Margaret had brought them back an hour ago. She'd heard the shooting stop, had emerged from the creek bed to find the marshal's men everywhere. "I couldn't stay away," she'd admitted. "I had to know if you were alive." Now she slept inside, exhausted beyond words. Jacob, too, and Cooper, who'd been found tied up in Harmon's camp. Only Clara remained awake, watching, waiting. Caleb appeared in the doorway. He moved carefully, favoring his ribs. But he was alive. He was here. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Don't want to miss this." "Miss what?" Clara nodded toward the horizon. The first sunrise without being afraid, without running. She looked up at him. I forgot what that felt like. Caleb sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. The marshal wants statements, from both of us. I figured. He also mentioned something about your husband, about questions that were never answered. Clara's breath caught. What did you tell him? That Thomas Brennan was a drunk and a fool who died cleaning his gun. Caleb's voice was steady. That his widow has suffered enough without old rumors being dragged up. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. He took her hand. Whatever happened with Thomas, it's in the past. It stays in the past. Clara's eyes burned. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just... He hesitated. Just tell me what you want to happen now. With us. With everything. Clara looked at the twins, at their peaceful faces, at the future they represented. Margaret will raise them. That's what Daniel wanted. Yes. But she's not young, and she'll need help. Clara paused. She asked me, this morning, if I'd consider staying involved, being part of their lives. Caleb's hand tightened on hers. What did you say? I said I'd have to talk to someone first. Who? Clara turned to face him fully. You. Caleb stared at her. Clara. I know you're wanted. I know there are warrants, but the marshal said something else too. She took a breath. He said that given what you did, given the evidence you helped secure, there might be a way to make those charges go away. A pardon, of sorts. Testimony in exchange for immunity. Clara squeezed his hand. You'd have to face what you did, publicly. But when it was over, you'd be free. Caleb was silent for a long moment. His face was unreadable. And if I did that, he finally said, if I was free, what then? Then we figure out the rest together. Clara's voice softened. I'm not asking for promises. I'm not asking for forever. I'm just asking for a chance. A chance at what? A life. A real life. She gestured at the twins. Maybe with them. Maybe somewhere else. I don't know yet. Her eyes met his. But I know I don't want to do it alone. Not anymore. Caleb lifted her hand, pressed his lips to her knuckles, the same gesture he'd made in the tunnel, a promise without words. I spent 15 years running, he said quietly, from the Kincaids, from the law, from myself. He looked at the horizon. I'm tired, Clara. Tired of being alone. Tired of looking over my shoulder. Then stop. It's not that simple. Isn't it? Clara turned his face toward her. You saved those babies. You stopped Harmon. You're not the man you were 15 years ago. Her voice strengthened. You're the man who rode through a blizzard with a bullet in his side to protect 2 children he'd never met. That's who you are now. Caleb's eyes glistened. You really believe that? I believe in what I've seen. Clara touched his chest, where the K was scarred into his skin. This mark doesn't define you. Your choices do. And you've made good choices, Caleb. Hard choices. The kind that matter. He covered her hand with his, held it against his heart. Okay. Okay, what? Okay, I'll talk to the marshal. I'll do what needs to be done. His voice dropped. And then if you'll still have me, I'd like to stay. Stay where? Wherever you are. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. I hear there's a ranch that needs rebuilding. Woman who runs it could probably use some help. Clara's heart swelled. You're talking about Willow Creek. I'm talking about home. Caleb pulled her close. If you'll let it be mine too. Clara buried her face against his shoulder. Let the tears come. Not tears of sorrow, tears of relief, of joy, of something she'd thought she'd never feel again. Hope. Yes, she whispered. Yes, it can be home. They sat together as the sun rose higher, as the twins stirred and woke, as the new day spread golden light across the territory, Behind them, the ranch hands were already working, clearing debris, tending wounds, beginning the long process of recovery. Ahead of them, the future stretched out, unknown, uncertain, full of possibility. Clara thought of Daniel and Sarah, of the sacrifice they'd made, the legacy they'd left behind. Those two little girls would grow up knowing they were loved, knowing they were wanted, knowing that people had fought and bled and nearly died to give them a chance. That had to mean something. It had to matter. Margaret appeared in the doorway. Her eyes found Clara and Caleb sitting together, the twins between them. "The marshal is asking for you," she said softly. "But he said it can wait. Said you've earned a moment's peace." Clara looked at Caleb, at the babies, at the woman who would raise them. "Tell him we'll be there soon," she said. We're just enjoying the sunrise." Margaret smiled, the first real smile Clara had seen from her since this all began. "Take your time." She disappeared back inside. Clara leaned against Caleb, felt his arm wrap around her shoulders. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm thinking about second chances." Clara watched Lily yawn tiny fists stretching toward the sky. "About how we don't always get them, but when we do, we'd better not waste them." "Is that what this is, a second chance?" "For all of us." Clara looked up at him. "You, me, them." She paused. "We've all been through hell. We've all lost things we can't get back. But we're still here, still breathing, still fighting. Still together." "Yes," Clara smiled. "Still together." Caleb kissed the top of her head, gentle, tender, the touch of a man who'd learned what mattered. "So what happens now?" he asked. Clara considered the question. The hearing would happen today. Harmon would face justice. The papers would prove everything. Then there would be trials, testimonies, legal proceedings that could take months. But eventually it would end. The dust would settle. The wounds would heal. And then Clara would rebuild her ranch, raise cattle, plant crops, make a life, with Caleb at her side, with the twins in her heart, with a future she'd never dared imagine. Now, Clara reached for his hand, held it tight. Now we live. The sun climbed higher. The twins cooed happily in their basket, and somewhere in the distance, a meadowlark began to sing. Fletcher Harmon was convicted 3 months later. The evidence was overwhelming, the testimony damning. He hanged in Copper Springs on a cold February morning, surrounded by the families of everyone he'd destroyed. Clara didn't attend the execution, neither did Caleb. They were busy that day, as they were most days rebuilding Willow Creek Ranch from the ground up. Margaret brought the twins to visit every Sunday. Lily and Rose grew strong and healthy, their laughter filling the empty spaces that loss had carved into Clara's heart. Caleb's pardon came through in spring. The territorial governor himself signed it, citing exceptional service in bringing a notorious criminal to justice. The day the letter arrived, Caleb stood on the porch of the rebuilt farmhouse and wept. Clara held him and didn't say a word. Some things didn't need words. Jacob stayed on as foreman. His hair went fully white that year, but his eyes stayed sharp and his hands stayed steady. He taught Caleb everything he knew about ranching, and Caleb taught him how to laugh again. Reverend Cooper performed the wedding in June, a small ceremony, just family. Margaret and the twins, Jacob, a few neighbors who'd earned the right to be called friends. Clara wore white. Caleb wore the same suit he'd borrowed that first night, patched and cleaned and somehow perfect. When the Reverend asked if anyone objected, Jacob stood up and said, "Only took them long enough." Everyone laughed. Even Clara. Even Caleb. They built a room onto the farmhouse that summer, a nursery. Not for babies of their own, though Clara had stopped believing that was impossible. For Lily and Rose. For the visits that grew longer each time. For the family they were becoming. Margaret's health failed the following winter. She passed quietly with Clara, holding one hand, and Caleb holding the other. Her last words were for the twins. "They're yours now," she whispered. "Love them the way I loved their mother, the way you loved them from the start." Clara promised, and she kept that promise. The adoption was finalized in spring. Lily and Rose McAllister became Lily and Rose Stone, daughters in every way that mattered. Clara stood on her porch that evening watching Caleb chase two giggling toddlers through the yard. His laughter mixed with theirs rising into the golden sky. She thought of Thomas, of the life she'd survived, of the woman she'd become. She thought of Daniel and Sarah, of their sacrifice, their love, the legacy they'd left behind. She thought of the storm that had brought a wounded stranger to her barn, of the babies he carried, of the impossible journey they'd taken together. And she thought of the future, the years stretching out before them. Full of challenges, yes, full of hardship and loss and all the things that came with living, but also full of love, full of hope, full of second chances. Caleb caught her eye across the yard, smiled that crooked smile that still made her heart skip. "You coming?" he called. Clara smiled back, stepped off the porch, walked toward her family, toward home. Some stories end with death and destruction, with villains triumphant and heroes fallen. This one didn't. This one ended with a woman who learned to trust again, a man who found redemption, two little girls who would never know the darkness that nearly swallowed them. This one ended with love. And that Clara thought as she swept Lily into her arms and felt Caleb's hand find hers was the only ending that mattered, the only ending worth fighting for, the only ending worth living for, home at last.